things. Our various sensor types that we do have currently available right now, we have temperature sensors, of course. We have one with and without a probe. The probe is good for getting into ductwork and freezers and standalone coolers and things like that. Instead of having to run wires out to these things, you can place one of these wireless sensors there in the middle of a store and not have anyone tripping over it. So the probe temperature sensor is really handy. We have an AC electrical current sensor, which can be wrapped around any single phase of a circuit. And an interesting thing about this is it can be used, in the HVAC, telling you when pumps are running or not running, or control panels have power or don't have power. But it can also be extended to things like parking lot lights. That's one of the power of the system. It doesn't have to be used for just one thing. I mean, you can monitor anything from a desk lamp to parking lot lights with this system. And with the parking lot lights, it's kind of handy because now when verify the time clock on and off is actually sensitive enough to know like when light bulbs have burned out. So you as a building manager can get that taken care of sooner. Sometimes people have people driving around all night, checking these buildings once a month, and here you can know about it the very next day. So just another interesting use. So we have a water sensor. Of course, it detects the presence of water or when it's dried up. I have one here in front of me. You see the little probe sensor. But this single sensor here is extremely versatile. The MATTA system and DMI lets you splice into this line here, and you can land this water sensor on any single switchable source. And what I mean is anything with a dry contact or a switch or something that triggers, much like a switch, you can interface with this sensor. There's about 1,600 parts on Grainger alone with air pressure sensors, water pressure sensors, and so on, that trigger just with like a relay. So you can extend those 1,600 sensors, today with this one sensor. You're talking anything from magnetic door switches to tilt switches and so on and so on. You start seeing how versatile that one thing is. Let's see, we also have a carbon dioxide sensor, which will help you, determine the level of carbon dioxide. You can measure air quality. You might be able to cut back how much outside air you have to bring in and condition while still maintaining a healthy building. Some energy savings to be found there. Same thing with the humidity sensor. A lot of applications, require appropriate humidity. Pharmaceutical industry, refrigeration industry, a lot of things. The humidity is very important. You'd be surprised at how many times we find a system's working so hard to cool people off to find out that really if they had reduced the humidity a little bit in the summer, it wouldn't have to work so hard. So, in some cases, they've used that as a case study to determine whether they needed dehumidifiers or not. We've actually had some carpet cleaning companies use the humidity sensor to help them determine when, if they had like some water damage from a flood or something. When they've got their dryers and dehumidifiers in there, they can actually monitor the progress of that because they want specific conditions to, dry the room quickly. 4 to 20 milliamp sensors. There's a lot of buildings that already have these types of sensors in place, these 4 to 20 milliamp sensors. And that we have one that just ties right in there. It extends that reading right to the web. PIR motion, that's passive infrared motion sensor. Of course, that's if you walk in front of it, it'll trigger. Obviously, there's some security type uses here, knowing when people have accessed certain rooms or areas of a building. Okay, it's great for vacant properties, helps prevent squatters. A movement sensor, that's any physical movement of the actual sensor itself. That's handy for access panels and things that you don't want people to get into all the time. You can know about it. An infrared temperature is one that's coming down the road. As soon as we get some infrared, some people kind of wanting that sensor, the infrared will be like a non-contact infrared thermometer, and it'll give you the temperature of whatever it's looking at. So that's, as soon as we have some interest in that one, we can finish the development of that. Magnetic door switch, we have that one, an air pressure switch. The kilowatt hour metering is a handy one. The MATTA system here at DMI, we've partnered with a company called EKM Metering to supply a third-party product. It actually does the work of taking an accurate kilowatt-hour reading. Our sensor interfaces with that and brings that reading to you on the web, so you can do accurate sub-metering, and that's a very versatile sensor. It can do 1, 2, 3 phase, anywhere from a desk lamp up to a 5,000 amp service for a full building. So it's a very versatile sensor. The tilt switch is really good for overhead doors and roof hatches.
And then we also have a button sensor, which on request we can produce a button sensor, and people have used that for a security checkpoint, and you know, also in a large building format, if people are working after hours, they can carry a sensor with them and be able to trigger that, notify people that there might be an issue, and not have to go get a phone and dial people. It's been kind of interesting. And then on top of that, people keep finding more and more uses all the time. And right now, that's what's really nice with the DMI and the MATTA system. Very, very versatile right now. So as you're thinking about your properties that you're working on now, and you've got trouble spots, things that are, you know, infinitely important to you because it's tenant satisfaction in your jobs, but maybe a system like this, we can find a way to help with those issues. We can help you monitor it, or, you know, get people to respond to problems quicker, things like that. We're very versatile right now in what we can do. And then coming soon, we already have the Ethernet base station. That one's been completed. We have a gas flow and a water flow sensor. The coolant gas detector, we'll be working on that one here in the coming year. And then also a repeater. Now we get pretty good range right now, but the addition of a repeater, of course, almost doubles your range. So that's kind of a no-brainer. But our range is great right now. We've been able to cover up to a 12-story building with one base station. And it does depend on the type of building you have and what the layout is. We've had some buildings that are 2 or 3 stories and they have tinted windows as such. I think that there's a metallic film in there and it kind of reduces it. But almost in all situations, we've been able to find a place where you can place the base station and a sensor and get the readings as you wish. So there's almost always a solution, especially once we have the repeater. How you can help your customers. It's pretty easy. Being the first to know about something is paramount. You know, I can't tell you how many times you would get a call from a tenant, and you could actually say, "Yeah, we detected that 15 minutes ago. We already placed the call to someone, and they should be there. Oh, and in fact, they probably are. The roof hatch just opened." When you can tell that to a tenant or employees at your site, that it goes a long way to them being happy. Measuring to manage better. That's my favorite tagline of the MATTA system, is being able to measure it to manage better. You can't manage, you know, it's hard to manage something if you're not measuring it, but this can help you. If you start trending this over time, you'll see ways to help yourselves. Hard dollar savings, that's obviously if you do catastrophe prevention and you can detect water before you have to spend $20,000 on new drywall everywhere, that's an obvious. The same thing with the cost avoidance. If you can you know, get there before it becomes a big problem, you just save a lot of money and time, effort. The premium reduction rebates, once you have a monitoring system in place, watching over, you know, problem areas, we found a lot of insurance companies that are willing to work with you to reduce the rates. That's kind of nice. If you know, if they know about water problems or the coil replacements, and then now they know you're actively monitoring it, they more often than not will come down for you and help you out, save a little bit there. Reducing the carbon footprint, that kind of ties into anything that you can do to save energy will help reduce your carbon footprint. So I think that the MATTA system does this really well by helping you be aware of what's going on in your building specifically, and then being able to make some changes and see and, you know, prove that out, so you can actually prove that you reduced the amount of energy you're using. And then tenant satisfaction, that kind of ties into all of them. If you can do any of that, then you've probably made them a lot happier. This is a good time. I'm going to show you the web portal so you can get a little feel for what the system looks like and how versatile it is. Okay, I'm going to just excuse myself out of this presentation, and we'll go to the web, where I actually have the website already up and running. Okay, the Design Mechanical's homepage here. You access the portal through their homepage. Okay, and via a simple login. This is how each individual account can be set up, and there's a myriad of ways that we can handle the users, because you have a master user and then you can have sub-users, and they can have read-write or, you know, view-only permission. And anyway, we'll see this breakdown. I'm going to log into one called Demo System, where we have a whole bunch of systems set up for demonstration. And one here, we just call it NTech. You can see here you can have multiple businesses.
You can have multiple locations inside of a business and then multiple base stations at each location. So maybe you've got a shopping center and you have a couple of base stations. It's a real nice to keep them grouped together and easy to navigate. And you can actually look at base stations directly. I'll kind of go quickly through some of these details here because it can be very technical. It's very simple to set up though, but here you've got your base station information, your alarms that you set up, and you can add anyone you want. You can set up, it'll tell you when they've lost power, the base station itself, which is it's like a sensor in and of itself. Then you can see all of the sensors attached to this base station. Okay. In this case here, I'm going to click on this water sensor, which I happen to have here in my hand. This one here is a very simple water sensor. We can set a multitude of alarms on this. I think I have it programmed to go to my cell phone, but in just a minute here, I'm going to run through a demonstration so you can actually see it work. This is our base station, the MATTA base station here with Design Mechanical. You turn this on here. It'll just take a moment or two to acquire the network, and then it's ready to go. And it can sit there for, up to 40 years. We use 40 years parts for this to operate, and then this will be your water sensor. I'll show you a trigger going right through, and you can see the information come online, and then I'll log into a site where we can show you some graphing and trending. Any questions while I wait for this to log on?
How many sensors can you put on a base station?
How many sensors? You can put up to 360 sensors on one base station. Okay, the real bottleneck becomes to the amount of data that you're sending. It comes down to if you're using a cellular base station, we try to keep that data stream very lean so that you don't get a very costly monthly fee. But we also have the Ethernet version of the base station. So if you're going to put 360 20-minute sensors on there, the amount of data being sent is not a problem. Good question.
What's the biggest advantage over if you already have a current EMS in the building? What's the biggest advantage of using that when you already have current EMS?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. That's a good question. We have deployed this system in buildings that have nice, full-blown automated control systems like an Allerton or a Honeywell or something like that. What we find is it helps you fill in the gaps or verify that system, or perhaps you're not comfortable or happy with how it alarms right now. It's not versatile enough. And so sometimes when you want to expand those systems, it can be kind of costly. This is a way to go ahead and get the extra sensors that you want or need. I find that it kind of works together with those systems. Those handle the controls and the brunt of it, but maybe you want to put some more sensors there and get more detail. This is a way you can do that without
Leads me to the next thing. Can you integrate it with your engineering?
There are some possibilities of being able to integrate them. Yeah, at this time they're just standalone, but we have been looking into that. Bill and I've discussed it. There are some ways to tie into those. Right now you can do it indirectly. You can export any data that you have with this system. You can export it and then import it into those other proprietary systems. So right now you can do it manually. So if say you get 10 sensors and you get some additional information. Is that me? Okay. Well, if you get all that extra information, you can bring that into your system and be able to it kind of expands on top of what you already have.